Good evening and welcome to the Talk Right podcast. My name's Wayne Stennard. I'm your host. And tonight we've got a really cool show. We've got a couple of British folks on our show. They talk funny, not like me, but different. And anyway, Nick, why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest? Or I should say, before we start, we've got two Nicks. So we're going to have to use Nick of the North and Brit Nick when addressing these two people. So Nick of the North, take it.
All right. Well, we're welcoming Nick of the South, Brit Nick, sometimes Other Nick, but honestly, I'm Other Nick to his Nick. We also have his narrator, Kim Breton, who also happens to be British, which works out wonderfully because Nick's main series, the AJ Bailey Adventure Series, AJ is a Brit. So he did the right thing and went out and got a native Brit and didn't get someone like me doing a horrible mashed up Australian that might sound South London to a drunkard.
I've got to ask, is that acceptable to use the term Brit? Is that offensive to y'all? Or
it's incredibly offensive, actually. But
oh well, Nick, you should apologize.
It's okay. No, it's fine. It's fine. You can even call us limeys. We take it.
Yeah, we don't.
I know where that term came from.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the early sailing days, they carried limes on the sailing ships to prevent scurvy.
That's it. Yep, that's where it came from.
And then they found rum.
Yeah.
Or tequila.
Yeah. Or fine Cuban rum.
So,
Wayne, you've had a little taste of this. This is Havana Club.
Havana Club. Yeah, I've got a bottle down in my bar. But anyway, we're here to talk about writing and books and audio books, and I guarantee it's going to devolve into scuba diving sooner or later. But anyway, let's get started.
Okay. Well, I first want to start out with Nick. You have a fascinating series of life choices that I am absolutely fascinated with. I know absolutely nothing about your first primary passion, I would say. And if you would, can you give us just a little background about where you're from, when you came to the States, and what you've been up to before you decided to start writing?
Yeah. So I was born and raised in the UK, and my dad was involved in car racing. He drove a little himself, and in the late 60s, and then started working for race car teams. So my brother and I grew up in a racing household. He shoved me in a go-kart when I was about 11, and I started racing karts, and I raced for the British national team, and we went all around Europe with a van and a caravan, and with the karts in the back, racing all over the place, the world championships and stuff. And then moved up into cars and quickly ran out of money because it's incredibly expensive. So then I started working for teams, mechanicking and doing anything I could to earn money to pay for my own race car. So I'd work for a few weeks until we could earn enough money to make and put parts on the car, and then we go racing and I crash it, and then we'd work for another 6 weeks until I could afford the new parts to fix it again, and then we go racing again. So I did that for a while, and I just kind of ran out of go in the UK. It's incredibly competitive in Europe, the racing scene, and it is just incredibly expensive. Even when I was doing it, which was a few years back now, it was incredibly expensive. So I thought, I'd come over with a race team and done some races in America. We did Daytona and a race in Miami, and America seemed like this cool place with lots going on, and no one knew who I was, and they seemed to like the way we talked. So I thought, well, maybe I can make a go of it here with a few dollars in my pocket. So I packed up 2 suitcases, got on an airplane, and flew to America, and then started racing over here, and ended up working, teaching at a racing school, and so teaching people to drive as I was doing the same thing, basically earning money, getting rides where I could. And eventually it kind of dawned on me in my late 20s that I was not going to be a Formula One driver. And I probably should start making a living doing something other than punting around racetracks. So I went full time. I got an offer to go full time in managing a race team by a company called PPI, who ran Indy cars, off-road, very famous off-road. You've heard of Ivan Stewart and the factory Toyota stuff in the Baja. They ran that program. And I ran a junior series team for them. And that's what got me started really full time in running teams and engineering for teams. And so I went on from there to work for IndyCar teams, and then moved into NASCAR, which is a strange place for an Englishman. And but it's really a lot different, the NASCAR world, from what generally people think it is these days. It's very engineering driven and technical. And so my last gig was working for Chip Ganassi Racing for the last for 4 years up until mid 2019.
I'm a big NASCAR fan, have been for many, many, many years. But like you said, NASCAR stands for National Association of Stock Car Auto Racing.
Yeah.
But they're not even close to stock anymore. Back in the day, they had, they still had the speaker and the dashboard and heater controls and everything. But these days, no, the cars are basically all the same. But that levels the playing field.
Yeah, and they've been forced down that avenue because of the cost escalation. It's just incredibly expensive. And the thing is about racing, and there's lots of other sports of this way. The more dollars you spend, the faster you can go, or the quicker you can do it, or whatever it might be in the sport that you're in. And racing is very much that way. You spend more money and you go faster, generally speaking. So who has the most goes the fastest and wins everything. And so to put a cap on that, and to try and get some kind of control and keep the field competitive, you have to start making stuff spec. NASCAR hates the word spec. They like to use other terms for it, but that's basically what it is. So everyone has that same part. And honestly, it keeps it does help cost control, and they've got a big move coming up where they go to this standard chassis that everyone uses the same chassis. And it will help them immensely with the budgets, because the budgets are enormous. We're talking tens of millions, up around the $40-50 million to run a car a year in NASCAR. So it's insane money. And so to try and get some kind of control over that, they've had to really clamp down on the rules. There's still so much freedom of tuning that you can do. And with the NASCAR is a fantastic racing series. It's a lot of people ask me, coming from Europe, like, NASCAR, really? Those things. And quite honestly, if you're a racer, it doesn't matter if you're racing shopping trolleys, NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One. You want to go faster than the other guy. And the technology that's involved in NASCAR is second only to Formula One, because their budgets are higher than IndyCar. So it's kind of a similar level of technology, but the number of people on a NASCAR team, like the size of, I was managing the engineering group at Ganassi, and we had about 45 people in the engineering group under that department. And you can imagine what that salary level is. It's a lot of money being spent. So
I imagine.
Yeah.
So what got you switched from a NASCAR engineer to dive master, trop author? I mean, that's a big switch. That's a big career change.
Yeah.
And living in an RV. I mean,
that was the other part of it. So when we quit when I left Chips, we sold everything, our house, cars, pretty much everything. Like, we had yard sales, eBay, everything. And it didn't fit in a small storage unit at my mum's, and it doesn't fit in our RV. We don't own it anymore. So we definitely made a big life change, which has been great. So how did I get into diving? My wife, Cheryl, is to blame for that. So we were in the Cayman Islands and on a holiday, and she said, let's try scuba diving. She had tried it before, and she said, it's the coolest thing ever. And I said, well, I kind of get the willies about what's under the water, like I grew up in England and it's all murky and dark and there's, God knows what's under there. So I wasn't mad keen on it. I like the idea of doing it. I just was a little bit worried about it. So I tried it in the pool and it was really cool. And I'm very techie, so breathing off the gear was great. And we went out into the ocean, and it was completely different to what I thought it would be. And I fell in love with it instantly. So that's how I got into the scuba diving. The writing part of it, I'm a weird mix of kind of creative and technical. So I've always, I wasn't very good in school at many things. Like
Same here.
I kind of didn't show up that much. I was busy kind of racing, and that was more important to me. But I did like creative writing, and over the years I dabbled in bits and pieces of that, and I thought I'd always wanted to write a book. And I had a story in my mind that evolved over years, but I didn't know how to put it together, and there was a piece of the puzzle missing. And finally, in 2017, I was the final piece of the puzzle came into my mind, which was where I could put a World War II submarine off the coast of Grand Cayman, and that no one had found yet. And that was the final piece of the puzzle for the story for 12 Mile Bank, my first book. And so while I was traveling to all the races, I'd write on the plane. So we'd go on charter planes. So while we were flying, I'd write. And in the hotel at night, I would write. And in the morning, I'd get up about an hour early. And I'd get up at like 5 and write for an hour before we went to the racetrack. And so over the course of 2017, I ended up writing the book.
Don Rich on YouTube is asking, is Cheryl a mad English woman too? No, she's not.
No, see, what we do is we come over here and steal all your women.
Well, and a lot of my actor friends would also say, and all the jobs. You can do an American accent very well.
I do a terrible American accent, by the way, so don't ask me to do that.
Hurts me.
Well, I feel like this would allow us to segue a bit to Kim, because I imagine doing audiobooks, you are doing American accents all the time. And if I'm correct, you live in Nashville.
Do crop up, yeah.
Yeah, from time to time.
Yeah.
So are you picking up the Nash Vegas, as we call it, the twang around there? Are you able to
don't even know what it is, because there are very few people in Nashville who are from Nashville.
No, this is true.
That's like Charlotte.
My brother lives there, and we're from Florida.
Right. But I do have some friends who are from here. But yeah, I'm fascinated with American accents, but they are kind of painful for me. It's weird. The southern accents come a lot easier than the northern or the central ones, but yeah, it's one of those accents that I have to really, really think about. It doesn't just flow.
Excellent.
That brings us to Nick's next question. What's your kryptonite voice?
Yeah, at some point we asked for the kryptonite accent.
What's that?
Well, Superman has his kryptonite, which can defeat him utterly. For me, it's a Boston accent,
right? Yes.
Or Welsh. Although I would think
Chicago.
other than a Welshman, that would be their kryptonite.
It's interesting. I find I can get to Welsh by doing a different accent. So you start with something else. All accents lead to Wales or India. So
yeah,
don't they?
Yeah.
Where in Britain are you from originally, and when did
Originally Portsmouth. So I was brought up on the coast. Yes, lots of ships, very naval. But I did leave when I was 18. So and then I moved to London, and I was in North London until we moved to New York. So, but I love Portsmouth. I mean, I like being by the sea, and so I miss that. I think when you're like, kind of piratey by nature.
Well, you're probably enjoying then Nicholas's books. It puts you very much in the ocean.
Yeah. And in that first one, there was like all these references to Portsmouth and to the Isle of Wight, which it kind of really excited me.
Excellent.
I have to say, you asked what her kryptonite is. I can tell you in my books, the kryptonite is probably the Kamanian accent, because she's having to do male Kamanian accents, and it's
several of them. Thanks, Nick. Several of them. And then in this next one, I've got 3 Cuban men. And so having to differentiate between 3 different Cuban men is really hard.
Have you got to the Russians yet?
Do you know what? Russian comes easy for me.
Yeah, I bet it would actually.
Yeah, but there are 2 Russians, aren't there? So I have to find some sort of way of separating those.
Well, here's a question, Nick. As you know, I've got a British character in my books, and I do my best to do her justice. But I've got to then record those books. Now, my next book, not the one that's coming out soon, but the one after that, will be in the Caymans. Do you actually say Kamanian, or is that a British thing where you guys mangle it deliberately? But if you were from there, you'd say Kamanian?
No, actually the other way around. So
they say Kamanian?
Kaman. Yeah, it's Kiman. Wow. So the island is called Kiman, and they are Kamanian. So yeah, that's how it's actually said on the island. So English people tend to say Kamanian, but English people on the island quickly learn to say Kiman.
Kamanian.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, and Wayne, while I got you, since people may not know that Wayne was a dive master in Cozumel, my next book's in Cozumel. Is it Cozumeli? If you're referring to someone who's a native, I've never been able to find what they call themselves.
I don't know. I've never thought to ask anybody, to be honest with you.
It's on my list to check with the dive master there, but I thought I would see if you knew.
I thought they called them Mexicans.
That's what I was going to say.
That's probably. Well, but that's, Tennesseans. You don't have to call us Americans. There's a way of targeting it, and I was just curious.
Yeah.
Well, Kim, so what led you to go to Nashville? Are you a singer?
Oh, yes, actually. And weirdly, like in the UK, I was very much a country singer. If there was like a new show, like a West End show opening, and it was like, a biopic or anything to do with country singing, I would always get the call. But since coming out here, I have not been singing any country. It's just different, I just do it for myself. But no, I'm here because my husband's in the music business. So we've kind of like taken his journey where the music takes us through his career. So we started in New York, then we went to LA, and then we've ended up here. And we're very much settled here.
Excellent.
On that note,
studio here at home, and we have artists come in here. That's not where I do my audiobooks, though. I'm in my own little mini studio for that.
On that same note, T Tukes on YouTube is asking, when voicing AJ, that's obviously quite easy for you, but what about Pearl and singing like Pearl?
That's easy, because that like London accent, that comes out really easy to me. So any kind of regional British ones come easy, and if I imagine a person, then that's it. It's like it's a breeze. So I can do that one live with like the Caymanians or with the Cubans, and sometimes with Americans too. I have to record like all the exposition and then drop in the voices afterwards and take them one by one, which is quite time consuming, but it seems to be the best way of doing it.
That way you keep the voice consistent throughout the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's clean.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's if there's a troublesome accent, I think that's always best. So you don't
do that too.
Narrative. Well, this is good to hear about the London accents. I may have found I need a female narrator for my Emily one-off book.
Oh, see? Hello.
Ryan.
Yeah. And interesting.
Where she's from. Deptford. She's from Deptford, border of Greenwich.
Yes, I know Deptford very well. Yeah.
So an interesting side note on AJ's voice. So I'm very visual. So when I write, it's a movie to me. It's I see it all happening, and I pretty much hear the people, and I can see the people. And but the one voice, believe it or not, that I never really heard was AJ, and I could never I had no idea how her voice should sound. And I gave I think you do this, you guys do this as well. When we started working together, I sent Kim some notes, and I sent a picture, like a guide picture of what this person looks like, and age, and a little bit about their characters and different things like that. And even sometimes we'll find a voice that's a likeness to what I have in my mind, and send that. But AJ, I had a look, and I had kind of all her character, but I had absolutely no voice in my mind how she was going to be. And then the first time I heard Kim's recording of AJ's voice, it was like, well, that's not what I kind of thought it would be, and it's perfect. And because I didn't know what it should be, I had nothing in my mind. But when she did it, it nailed it. It was perfect. It was, and that's it. It instantly became that sound. And now, like, if she wanders away from that a little later into the script, I'm like, no, go back to the earlier AJ.
Well, Steve Kittner on YouTube commented about your reading of Grandpa's backstory in 12 Mile. And I thought that was just really, really cool myself. It was awesome. Very good job.
Thank you. I loved doing that. I don't know what it is, but I do old men really well. I don't know why. Wizards and old men.
Wizards.
Yeah. But I loved the grandpa thing, and I got really into it. And I did things in recording wise that I don't usually do. Like I left in every little mouth click and breath. I really, I let it be tasty, where instead of making it nice and clean. Do you ever do that, Nick?
Yes, I actually have a voice. It's God help an author if he mentions that some ancillary character has jowls and is in his 50s and heavy. In my notes, I write, "It's a prop." Star Wars, that got Admiral Akbar. A mouthful of calamari. So yeah, I absolutely. That character will be sloppy, but it can't be a main character, otherwise people will just drive off the road.
Yeah. Now her reading of the grandfather part those scenes are the backbone of the story, and she blew it out the water. It was so I literally had tears in my eyes when I was listening to her reading it. It was really good, and most of the comments I've had on the audiobook reading have noted that. Yeah, so Steve, thank you he was one of the people that brought it up. Yeah.
Well, it was so well written that, the whole book, but those bits were really emotional and they were very easy to immediately connect with.
Yeah. Plus we have this amazing soundbite of Kim saying, "I do old men really well."
I kind of heard it as it was coming out and we're like, I'm committed now. So I'll carry on.
That's why it's live.
Yeah.
Well, I should point out something that our viewers can see there. Nicholas, can you explain the hoodie you've got on there?
Oh, yeah. So Mermaid Divers, Grand Cayman, is AJ Bailey's dive company on the island, and it's made up. It's fictitious. There are actually mermaid divers companies, as you would imagine, in other parts of the world, but there isn't one on Cayman. So Wayne actually was very kind, and he's been very, very kind about a lot of things with me starting as an author and all that. But he pointed me in the direction of Print Aura, that does the print-on-demand shirts and stuff. So I opened a little merchandise store and had this put this logo together for the her dive operation.
Love it.
Which is pretty cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah, lovely
cool.
Christmas gifts. Just fine.
Do they come in size COVID?
I gotta add that now. I gotta add that as a size option.
Yeah.
That is definitely going to find its way into one of 3 books. I guarantee it.
You're writing like 4 books at the same time right now, aren't you, Wayne?
3. Well, one's finished. It's the final forms and everything have been uploaded, and it's just waiting until it be released. I'm writing one. Another one I've co-written, and it's basically finished. And I'm working on a new charity book with Kim. And well, I'll save the rest of it till the end of the show, but there's another one coming up very soon. But anyway, I've got a question. This concerns all 3 of us, from Dana Villan. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Dana, because you've been one of my beta readers, my top beta reader for about 5 years now. He asks, will Emily and AJ meet? And will AJ find her way into either my books or Nick's books? That'd be Nick of the North.
I would not have revealed this, but because someone who beta reads for both of us,
3 of us.
Exactly. Yes, very soon, March or April.
Oh, no kidding. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. and I don't know how extensive, because the book I'm in now starts in Cozumel, but that's not where it ends. We'll see how it goes, and maybe there might be more opportunity for something a little more extensive. Yeah. But I'm gonna have to bone up on AJ and make sure that I mean, she's very. When I read the book, I kind of had in my mind almost the who was that hacker in that Swedish mystery?
Oh,
girl with a dragon tattoo.
Yeah, girl with the dragon tattoo.
Yeah. So Emily's certainly more clean cut, but I think she would be super impressed with AJ's look.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that, but I'm only 50,000 words in, and I think AJ's probably a 65.
Maybe AJ can talk Emily into a hairstyle change or a tattoo or something.
Well, tattoo perhaps.
There you go.
That'd be cool.
An idea. Yeah. I gotta research Grand Cayman tattoo parlors. Okay.
Make a note.
I'll tell you where it is because I have one from it. So.
Oh, really? Okay. Don't let me forget that.
Yeah.
Add a note to the Post-it board.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, that's great. And I think Nick and I have talked about it, quite a bit. And the biggest issue is actually getting on meshing writing schedules, so that we can cross paths and in the right place. But it's an interesting character in one of my books in I don't remember which book it was in. I think it was I can't remember. So in one of them, Sully is a character, and Nick Sullivan is a writer and underwater photographer. I needed a client to be on the dive boat and be alone on just the only person on the dive boat. I don't want to deal with a bunch of characters on there. I just wanted one person. So he chartered the boat. So it's Nick Sullivan, and I call him Sully. So anyone that wants to call him Sully from now on, it's game on.
I've got plenty of people that do that.
Yeah. And I said, Nick, do you mind if I write you into a story? This is what you're going to be. And he went, yeah, no problem. And then
I remember going, so you want Boone or Emily? And you're like, no, you.
You.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I was fairly liberal with my characterization of him. So, and he was a great sport about it. So.
Oh, you actually used a phrase that I used on, what was it, gasted with, I'm flabbergasted, positively gasted with flabber.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, that sounds familiar.
I found that on the internet about you.
I wanted to ask, before we moved away completely from the, with your background as an engineer with the cars and such, do you have any special adjustments or neat little things that you've done to your Winnebago? Have you kitted it out with, I don't know, oil slick dispensers a la Boone, James Bond, or do you have anything unusual that you went in there and adjusted it?
So we left North Carolina. So we never owned a motorhome before, and we had to choose one that was now going to be our house. So I did some research and figured out, okay, there's this particular one that we want. So we had to drive to Florida to get it, and drove it back up to North Carolina. And it drove like a pig on roller skates. And we got back up there. So I did some internet research, and they talked about these upgrade kits, different things you can get for the suspension, and that makes it better. But it was quite a lot of money, and I was like, oh, I don't know. So we took off and left in July, and we go across the Appalachian Mountains, and on the 40, which is, in case you haven't noticed, they forgot to pave it properly, or they did 40 years ago, and now it's Wayne, because you drove back and forth endlessly across the country
many times.
And the 40 it's like you wonder if you're actually still on the road. It's
always being closed for rock slides.
Oh my God. And it's bumpy and it's so rough. And the trying to keep the bus in the same lane and the wind's always blowing. So it's always going, and it's like a big barn door going down the road, and it's going all over the place. And we got a trailer we're pulling behind it. So it was a mess. So by the time we reached Nashville, actually, or Memphis, where we went to Graceland, which everyone should go to Graceland. It's brilliant. I called up and ordered all the suspension stuff and had it shipped to Oklahoma, which is where Cheryl is from, and her brother and dad have a workshop. So we pulled in to do a family visit as we're going across the country, and then all this suspension parts started arriving, and and Cheryl's brother and I dove underneath and jacked this thing up and started redoing all the suspension on the Winnebago. It was much better after that.
I thought you were just going to give me a joke answer. I didn't think you would. You actually did go in there and marvelous.
Yeah, big industrial suspension.
I want to know if you drive fast.
I rarely drive now in Key Largo, so I drive my bicycle most of the time, and especially during COVID, I don't go anywhere. So I ride my bicycle. It's 4 miles from where we're sitting to where Cheryl works at Rainbow Reef Divers. So anyone from Rainbow Reef is listening in. Hi, guys. And I go there for lunch probably every other day. It's a great way of getting some exercise. And it is the deadliest stretch to ride a bicycle on anywhere, I think, in the world. Well, maybe not in India or somewhere, but in America.
You got all those RVs going by.
Well, no, the bike path is deadly because the the road splits going either way.
Yeah.
And there's all these roads going across, and no one stops at the stop signs. So Cheryl got hit by a car and knocked off a bike in February, really bad. I mean, fortunately, she was not seriously hurt, but it was rode off the bike. It was a bad deal. So you take your life in your hands, but still, that's what I do. So do I drive fast? I might ride my motorcycle. I have a Ducati Multistrada. So when I'm on the tail of the Dragon, I ride a little fast. Yeah.
Oh, you rode the tail of the Dragon. That's cool.
Yeah, it is. It's the tail is kind of fantastic, and it's hit and miss how many people are on it, at the time. But it's neat going both ways. And then there's a lot of other roads in that area, up in the mountains there. Maggie Valley is a really cool area. I tell you what you'd love, Wayne, is a motorcycle museum in Maggie Valley called Dale's Wheels Through Time. And it is amazing. It is huge. He has all these bikes in there, thousands of them, dating back to, he's got prototype Harley Davidsons in there. Most of what he has are Harleys. And everything that is on the floor in there runs. And most of the time, every time we've been in there, someone's been in there like firing one up, like his son's in there kicking one over, trying to get it started and firing it up. It's brilliant. I'm not sure what you asked me originally, but that's where we ended up.
Well, tail of the Dragon. I used to live right up in north of Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And so the Dragon was, that was only 45 miles away.
Yep.
So we rode Cherokee Highway all the time. Beautiful highway, Highway 11.
Yep. Yeah, all that stuff.
Let's see. Right. T. Tukes asks, can you expand on Jackson's character and his work at Sea Sentry? Is that inspired by Sea Shepherd? Yeah.
So, Tom has a little insight into that. So it is. So in my, AJ's love interest is an American chap by the name of Jackson, and he's a wee bit hippie, and he works, through most of the books, he works for an environmental company called Sea Sentry, who have boats who go out and stop people illegally whaling and all that kind of thing. And it's based on Sea Shepherd, and I contacted Sea Shepherd to see whether it was okay to use Sea Shepherd, like have them work for that, give them a plug, give them a link in the book. And they were great. And actually, it's been really cool. I've sent some books to them, and they're on their Sea Shepherd boats. They got a stack of the AJ books on there, which is kind of really cool to know. And they said, we'd love you to, but we can't because of legal reasons and all this other business. To reference us and put a link in the books is great. So in one of the books, I put a link in the back. If you haven't guessed already, Sea Sentry is based on Sea Shepherd, and then I had a link to their charity site.
You could maybe reach out to Kim Binshattle. I feel like a Poppy McVee Jackson crossover would be something that would work.
Yeah, no kidding.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Kim's books are great too. Her poppy books.
Have you ever brought your car racing into the AJ world? That coastal road that runs all the way along Cayman, might some eccentric person come up with some crazy race?
So the short answer is no. The longer answer is
still no.
Well, she's worn a Ducati t-shirt in a couple of the books now.
Oh,
so maybe something's coming.
Okay.
But people always ask me, are you know, why don't you write a book about racing? You've got such an insight into it and everything else. And the main reason I don't is I'd lose a lot of friends in racing if I did a racing book that actually told what goes on behind the scenes in racing.
Pseudonym.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff you can, you know those cars that go to the back of the field before the NASCAR race because they failed tech 3 times. So every car in the field would be sent to the back of the field if they actually looked in the right places on the cars. So there's a lot people could do as tell-alls. Yeah.
Gail Shanklin is asking if we could play a snippet from one of your audiobooks. And unfortunately, Gail, this is live and that's technology. And in my world, those two things don't mix.
Kim, just start reading. Yeah, just start saying stuff.
I know. Yeah, I could if I had it with me.
This is actually a good idea, though. So thank you for bringing that up. What we might do in the future.
That's a cool idea. Yeah.
Well, we could. I've got a SoundCloud. Wild Yonder Press has a SoundCloud page. We could put links and put them into the comments on the YouTube thing. So once the show is over, you could go listen to. Okay, we're going to do that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Or give us some time, but yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
Or go to Audible and they do the preview on.
They've got that, yeah. But usually, you could put a 15-minute sample up if you want to.
Well, you know something else we could do. We could request before the show that the narrator and author agree to give us a 2-minute or 3-minute sample.
Yeah,
and then we could just play it right on here.
Yeah, or a live reading.
Live reading.
Yeah,
I think that'd be awesome.
Into the process.
Yeah,
that'd be for me. Be a lot. Okay, I popped my pee. Let's stop. Let's go back.
Thanks for the great idea, Gil.
Kim, you mentioned wizards. So I've been narrating since reel to reel, and I've certainly seen. That when you have high fantasy, if you can get a British reader, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
So do you find yourself doing a fair amount of fantasy books?
I've done 1 or 2. I would like to do more. I do like that genre. But yeah, I've done 1 or 2. I've done like some cozy mysteries with witches and wizards in them, and yeah, gosh.
He's done horror, Nick.
80
He's
books.
done horror.
You've done horror?
A lot of horror. Mm-hmm.
Really?
And I never thought I'd like it. I was like, "Ooh, am I going to like this?" And I love it. I love it.
I know a lot of horror writers. They're good.
Yeah, and I don't like watching horror. I've no desire to watch horror movies, but reading it is really, really good. Especially when there's a lot. I like things that are story driven and character driven, and so when when that's going on, there's so much there, and you're so invested. So when someone dies, it ain't good. Yes, but known to get very upset.
I highly recommend a horror. It's not really a horror. It's kind of a horror comedy by this young upstart by the name of Nick Sullivan. Zombie Bigfoot. I mean, that just the title alone snagged my attention. I'm not a horror reader. I've read a few, but when I saw the title, I thought Zombie Bigfoot. Oh man, it was just such a cool book. And I'll say that on every show, Nick.
Yeah.
Like,
so long as those dollars keep coming in.
Why not? Yes. Well, I'll repeat. Let's see over this filter. That's Zombie Bigfoot's sequel. But that's
the sequel coming, right?
That back there makes more money, so I'm doing that. Let's see. Oh, okay. Where's the most unusual place you've dived, Nicholas? I know the answer.
Iceland.
Tell us a
That is
bit
incredible.
about diving in Iceland.
Yeah. So there's it's in the diving world. It's kind of well known. It's called the Silfra Fissure, and it's where the two tectonic plates are moving apart. And it's actually not by the ocean; it's by a lake. And there's a crack that leads down into the lake, which is either side is connected to the two tectonic plates, and it's moving steadily apart. And it's basically half a degree above freezing all the time there. And so it's a dry suit dive. And so Cheryl and I got dry suit certified before we went there, and we met some friends from Finland in Iceland for a week, which was just an incredible trip. And while we were there, we went and dove in the Silfra Fissure, and it is amazing. So the day we did it, it's outside. It's Iceland, right? It's near the Arctic. Like the top of Iceland is basically in the Arctic, and so it was kind of drizzly cold. It's about 40-something degrees Fahrenheit, and it's foggy, and you can see like 50. You can barely see across the car park, and we're talking to the guy that's there, who was actually an English guy, who was the dive guide, and with us, and it's just the two of us. And I said, well, it's probably not going to be a great day, you know, because it's known for being this incredible visibility under there. And I said, we can barely see over there. And he goes, no, wait, when you go underwater, you'll see a lot further than you can above the water. And he wasn't lying. We went down. And by the way, you're wearing a dry suit. And so it's everything but this. And then you've got a mask on. And so your face here is exposed. It's really cold. So the first thing you notice when you get in is you're fine. And you put your head under, and then you're like, holy God, it's cold. And it freezes your face. But we could see 50 or 60 feet across the top of the water. And as soon as we dropped down, it's gin clear. And you could see forever. The only restriction in how far you could see was the rocks restricting the view that were 150 feet ahead of us. It was brilliant, yeah.
And with that being a tectonic fissure, were there any thermals? Like, is there any?
No, there's no thermals.
Like way down.
Well, they're all over Iceland. So Iceland is the island of fire and ice. So they've got volcanoes, which we went to the top of a volcano and then skied down, which was really, really cool. There's lots of hot springs and different places around the island, but there's nothing bubbling up through that fissure.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
Incredible experience, yeah.
Dana asks if you have any plans for another series, or is it just, or are you going to be sticking with AJ?
I think
Dana's got some insight here. Am I guessing?
Well, I was helping him put his crab traps in the other day, his stone crab traps. Yeah. So Dana lives 10 miles from me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, super guy. Yeah. So and thank you guys for putting me onto him as a beta reader, because he's if it's in there to be found, if it has anything to do with an airplane and it's to be found, Dana will find it. He
texted me about a week ago and said, we're pulling into the marina. I said, what marina? He said, Beaufort Downtown Marina. I said, well, how long are you going to be there? I'll come over. He says, we're just getting fuel and leaving.
I believe that trip was bringing a sailboat down with his son. And what's today? Monday. So what was it? Yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Yesterday morning, he gives me a text and says, hey, you want to go put out some stone crabs traps with me? I'm like, yeah, sure. I went and pulled some with him a couple of months ago. And so I go down, we go out on his boat, and he loads up the traps, and we head on out. And around here, you can have 5 traps per person for personal stone crab traps. And so he says, we're just going to meet up with my son and deliver him some ice and some bits and pieces. He's on the sailboat. I'm like, is the sailboat you just brought down? He said, yeah. They're just heading over to Bimini. They're going to be leaving in a bit. It's him and a couple of friends. They're waiting on a COVID negative test so they could get the entry permission to go in there. He said they're sitting off Rodriguez Key. I'm like, you're kidding me. Rodriguez Key is the key straight across the water from where we live. So his sailboat was sitting out here about 3/4 of a mile off the shore from where we were. So anyway, we went around on his boat, came up alongside, saw his son, gave him some ice, sent them on their way, and they sailed off. And they're in Bimini now. They just cleared, and then we went and put his traps in. So what was it Dana asked?
If you're going to do a spinoff.
That's right. Yeah. So yes. But I'm really struggling with who, and how to spin it off, quite honestly. So, my books fall, they're in the, we all write in the sort of Caribbean suspense, Florida, tropical author, kind of sea adventures genre. But I'm sort of off to a bit of a branch to the side of it, because I'm in the islands and my protagonist is English. And so it's a little bit different. So I'm trying to decide which character I might use as a spin-off and where to put them and leave them on the island and what have you. And it's that mix between what you really want to write, which you really have a passion about writing, and where the market falls. There's a lot of push to write to market, which I just don't think I can really do. I've got to be really into it. So I've just got to pick which direction to go with that, and I'm kind of struggling with which way to go with it. But I think the next book is really going to set one of the characters up to do it. But I think it's about time. I figured when I get to 10, I just released 8 today, and when I get to 10, I figure I'm going to start a separate series and then flip-flop back and forth between the two.
I want more Reg and Pearl. Love them.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, the readers love Reg and Pearl too, and I think you guys know, because you've all done it in your books, especially Wayne, where Jesse has his group of people, and they've got the places, the Rusty Anchor and Rusty there, and this whole group of characters and this family that's in every book, and the readers love that. And I love it. It's fun to write. It's fun to write this interaction that grows between those people. And so to splinter off and put one of the characters completely somewhere else is, I'd have to reinvent another group of people. But having lived now in the Keys for a while, it's really tempting to put.
You got a lot of characters to choose from.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Well, we've got 13 minutes left. This is usually the time that we talk about what we're drinking. I'm drinking. Yes.
I've got melted ice cubes left.
Me too. I've got a very watery Moscow Mule.
I'm drinking Pusser's rum and with a little hat on.
Nice. Good.
I'm fighting scurvy with lime juice and tequila.
I've got my Havana Club over ice.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure you're going to do something for this, Wayne, but I'll lead off, and let's raise a glass to Ed Robinson, and thank you for the great books you put forward, Ed, and to his wife Kim. Anything we can do for you going forward. Cheers.
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 On that note, I did speak to Kim today, and we're going to put together some. We've already done the fundraiser, so that helps her a lot. She's very appreciative of that, but she's just totally at a loss of what to do next. So we're organizing some. A lot of the tropical authors are getting together with. We've all got great backgrounds in different things, and so we're going to help her to keep his books viable for the foreseeable. John D. McDonald's books are still selling like hotcakes. There's no reason Ed Robinson's won't.
Yeah.
And she did say that Ed was 8 days away from finishing a new book when he passed, and she wants me to finish it for him. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, I'd be honored to. So now, yeah, when you asked, I'm writing 4 books.
You are writing 4
5.
books. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great loss. Ed was he's a good friend. We talked a lot. We emailed quite a bit. Visited him and Kim on Leap of Faith 3 or 4 times, and just really, really down to earth people. And he's going to be really missed.
And for those watching, if you're not familiar, Ed Robinson, you can look him up on Amazon. The Trawler Trash series, the Mountain Breeze series, and the Blue Water Breeze series. He was doing this Sea Adventure thing when a lot of us were wearing our literary diapers.
It's really just one really long series. I mean, Mead Breeze is the main character throughout. He just, he leaves the southwest coast of Florida and moves to the mountains. Well, the reason is because Ed and Kim left southwest Florida and moved to the mountains. And then they moved from the mountains to the North Carolina coast. So Breeze moved from the mountains to the North Carolina coast. But yeah, great series of books. It's 20 or 21 altogether. And plus his nonfiction Leap of Faith. If you're ever thinking about selling the house and ditching everything and living on a boat, you have to read Leap of Faith. It's basically the Bible of becoming trawler trash.
That's great. Yeah, and there's links on all of our social media stuff. There's a GoFundMe that if you can throw a couple of bucks in there for Kim moving forward, the family would appreciate it. We will appreciate it. So.
Okay, let's see if we got any more questions here.
Don Rich has to have something in there.
Oh, Don's making all kind of comments, but it's mostly related to did you take the restrictor plate off the RV?
This is another different podcast we'll have to put together.
If you want Don to start making notes in there, just let's put it out there. You know what's fantastic is NASCAR's going to a single wheel nut instead of 5 lug nuts per wheel. That'll set Don off. It'll get him going.
Yeah, a single knockoff.
And the greatest racetrack is in Bristol. Is that correct? Is
the
one everybody likes?
Well set up, Nick. I don't know. No full red-blooded NASCAR fan doesn't love Bristol Motor Speedway. It is the iconic racetrack of NASCAR. And author Don Rich, it does not like Bristol. I'm putting that out there.
Oh, Don, forget it. You lost me now. Bristol is the king. I mean, when they start racing at Bristol, it creates a vortex. And you can actually see the trees and the bending in the wind in a circle around the track. It's an incredible racetrack.
You'll dig this, Wayne. I've been to Bristol a lot. I've been the spotter up on top of the roof for the Bristol race. And the toughest races to be a spotter were the super speedways because they're so big and they're running in this big pack, right? And you're doing half the track through binoculars to be able to see what's going on. So you've got binoculars following them around, talking on the radio to your driver virtually the whole time. You go through like 3 batteries of the super speedways. And then you have to take the binoculars down and refocus on them as they come into view in front of you and around turn 1. And the next hardest is Bristol. It is relentless. I mean, it is. You can imagine what it's like for the drivers in the cars.
You got 43 cars on a half-mile oval.
Yeah, you're constantly in traffic. From lap 10, they are in traffic the whole time. There's something going on.
Somebody gets lapped before you get to lap 3.
Yeah. But I did, So anyway, Don's probably there's smoke coming off his keyboard now.
Don said he rode a Segway at the Brickyard. See, this is the kind of stuff you come up with having Don on here. So we've got a couple more minutes. Nick, do you have any other questions?
I thought we'd have a little fun here. As Britnick knows, one of my main characters is almost unbelievably British.
She's more English. So let me say this. The American writer writes his British character more British than the English guy writes his own character.
Well, I don't necessarily.
He put a lot of research into that.
Well, and that's what I thought we would have a little fun here. So we have Kim and Nick, who are both Brits who have spent an awful lot of time in the U.S. So I'm sort of curious about some of these phrases, and our listeners might enjoy some of them to see if you if you know. I'm going to start with one that we hear all too often, but I'm wondering if you can tell us what the rest of the phrase is, and also whether it's something that people actually do say, or whether this is something that only chimney sweeps from some turn of the century West End theater show would say, which is Bob's your uncle.
Kim?
What does it mean when you say Bob's your uncle?
I say Bob's your uncle. Yeah.
Good.
Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt.
Fanny's your aunt. Yeah.
That's the full phrase, yeah. But then,
never knew that.
yeah, but you'll very rarely hear an English person say the whole thing, because once you say Bob's your uncle, then everyone knows what you're saying.
But now we just go boom.
That's Bob's your uncle. It's boom.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what is a dog's dinner?
A mess.
A mess.
A mess. Yeah.
Very good. All right. Now, if you tell someone I'm absolutely gutted, what does that mean? You mean
oh my
you've
gosh,
been torn
I
open
must
with a
say
knife?
that 20 times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gutted. You can just say the word. That will do. It doesn't need to be in a sentence, does it?
And for our listeners, what does that mean?
Very disappointed.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, if you want someone to call you, do you say, give me a...
Give us a ring or give us a bell.
Give us a bell. See, that's something I did not know. Yeah. Give us a bell.
Give us a bell.
Give us a tinkle if you're feeling saucy.
Give us a tinkle?
Yeah, give us a tinkle.
Yeah. Well, that means something totally different here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the whole pissed and pissed off. It's a different way, which side you're on.
Now, here's one that I have never heard, therefore I won't use it. If I've never heard it, I don't want to use it. But I love this. It's monkeys outside.
It's monkeys outside. You made that up.
No. This is from a marvelous side of British slang. It's monkeys outside. And it's very, very, very cold. Have you ever heard that?
Monkeys.
Oh, brass monkeys. It's a derivative of brass monkeys.
Yeah.
I just heard my wife laughing downstairs at that.
Well, Cockney slang, a lot of times the slang comes from another phrase and then you change a little and you change a little and then you have something else.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's monkeys outside came from.
Yeah, it'll come from his brass monkeys outside.
Yeah. One of my favorites of those is I don't have a Scooby.
I don't have a Scooby? I need a pen.
Which is which is like I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue, and it's from Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
Doo.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah,
I
love that.
Ruh-roh.
Now, all right. Here's a little fun. Plonker, wanker, tosser, Burke, and then one that starts with T and rhymes with cat that I'm not going to say because it means something much different here.
Oh, yeah.
What would you, if you're insulting someone in a friendly way, what would you say of plonker, wanker, tosser, Burke, or what
well, in EastEnders, they call each other a fat cow.
Yeah. My sisters grew up calling each other cows. Yeah.
There was you daft cow is on here.
Daft cow.
Yeah, daft cow. Yeah. Plonker's a good one. If you're with your mates, you can call them a plonker all day long.
Plonker would not be offensive?
No, I mean it means something offensive, but it wouldn't be. It would be taken in good light. But the British are famous for insulting each other and ourselves. We're very self-deprecating, so
which I love.
We're quite insulting. Yeah.
Yeah, making this all seem like a segment.
Burke seems very polite.
Yeah, Burke's a pretty polite one actually.
Burke is polite.
Burke is pretty old school too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the kids are going around.
I've never said that. Yeah.
Yeah, I did when I was a kid. You Burke. Yeah.
Now, have you heard the term scouser?
Yeah.
I'm married to one.
I have never heard this before. Tell us what a scouser is.
A scouser is someone who's from Liverpool. Yeah.
Where does that come from?
It comes from my husband's going to be going mental right now. It comes from a pan of scouse. It's like a dish, like meat and potatoes stew, and it's called a pan of scouse. And it was a kind of a Liverpudlian dish. So that's where it comes from.
Wow, I love that. If you say I'm chuffed, what does that mean?
Pretty happy.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, the full of that is chuffed to bits.
I want to throw this back to Wayne because we're hitting 7:30, and I have.
We can go. We're already over time, so it doesn't matter. We're having fun. Stay with us, y'all.
Yeah.
All right, I tell you what. Now here's one I honestly want the answer to. You're just giving an exclamation like "wow." Is there something other than core blimey, which makes me think someone's popping up out of a chimney when they say it? Is there an exclamation that folks use?
Core blimey is really old school, but any kind of phrase like bloody hell, you can use that as an exclamation, you know.
Right. If it was a positive thing, what would you say?
Do you know what we say in Portsmouth? What I grew up saying was "wee," which kind of like encompasses quite a few things. It can either be good shocked, bad shocked. It's just exclamation.
Trying to see that on the page. I don't know.
I've never heard that in my life.
Really?
Oh, I completely forgot. I'm going to jump off of this. And Wayne, you might not know this. Nick, what was sighted in the waters off Key Largo?
A manta ray with about a 10-foot wingspan off of Carey's Fort.
Wow.
This was yesterday, and very close to it, a whale shark.
You're kidding.
So a friend of ours who lives in a just down the road from us here, he's Nolan's a super guy, and he's a fishing guide, and he was out on a fishing charter with some people, and they had lines in the water, and he saw them both. Yeah, apparently I haven't seen it yet, but he has. It's some pretty poor cell phone video of it at a distance, but he saw them both. Yeah, he was absolutely categorically it was a whale shark.
That's incredible, especially this far north in the wintertime.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, and a manta. I mean, they come by here. They've been seen before, but I mean, very strange time of year. Yeah.
To see both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah.
Dana just fired up his boat and left his dock heading for Carey's Fort.
Take your camera.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're actually out of time. We're beyond time, but we had a great time. It's a lot of fun.
This was awesome. Thank you so much for having us on. Yeah, it's been brilliant. I really appreciate it. It's a special day. So my book comes out today,
congratulations! Yeah, I forgot about that.
It's on the backside. Yes. Tell us the name of the book and where to find it.
Neptune's Wall. It's called Neptune's Wall. So all my books are actually named after dive sites. Most of them are real. Neptune's Wall being one of them. And Neptune's Wall is a fantastic dive in Cayman. And it's where I did my 100th dive. And we had this stupid idea to go down beyond PADI limits of 130 feet to quite a bit further below that. And so it literally is a sheer wall. And it's a great site. So that's where the story, part of the story encompasses that. So all of them, some of them are made up, like Queen of the Island Skies was an airplane that crashed and they dived the plane. So I made up the name of that. But the rest of them are, most of them are actual dive sites in Cayman. All my books always have real dive sites in there, and virtually all of them my wife and I have dived. Cheryl's dived. So
did you get narked on that dive?
Yeah, I got narked to all hell. Yeah,
Cheryl. Did anybody not get narked? Somebody's got to say, "Hey, let's go back up."
Yeah, well, I did. I'm like, and I did the worst thing in the world. So I know we're over time, but I'll tell this quick story. So we're with a friend of ours, Craig, who's a brilliant guy, and he's got loads of dives, and Cheryl and I, and we're going to go to 200 feet, right? That's the goal. We're going to go down 200 feet, and we're on a single tank of air. So we drop down the wall, and the wall starts at about 90 and just goes sheer. So we're just dropping down. And Craig has been down before to about 180, and he kind of knew what it was all about. He's ahead of us, and then Cheryl's next. And then I'm next, and I'm going down behind, and I'm like looking around all over the place, checking it out. Whoa, look at this steep wall off to the side here. This is amazing. Look at all the big dark blue. I'm checking everything out, and we're just dropping, right? Dropping. And then it starts getting a bit funky, and you can feel things starting to close in a little bit. And I start looking down the wall, and I start thinking, you know, the little scraps of coral on the side of the wall look like snowflakes on there. And then I go about another 10 feet and I'm looking at it, and it is snow on the wall. And there's a snapper, and I think it was a snapper, I don't know what it was, but there was a fish kind of swimming towards me. And it starts morphing into like an eel type thing coming towards you. And I had enough about me to go, oh, bloody hell, I'm getting really knocked. So this is getting bad. And you feel this kind of closing in on you and kind of getting tunnel vision, you know, and everything's going back. And I've been looking around all over the place, and I start getting really antsy. And I made it to about 180 feet. And I'm like, if I don't turn around now, I'm really not sure that I'm going to be able to make decisions below this. And I was feeling really uncomfortable. So I banged on my tank so Cheryl would look up, and I'm like, I'm done. I got to go up. And of course, every diver knows that means out of air.
Out of air.
So Cheryl's looking up at me. I've got, you know, like most of my tank left because it takes no time to drop down, right? And she's like, oh, he's out of air. So she starts coming up behind me, and Craig looks up and just goes, okay, and keeps going. And of course, as soon as you go back up, it starts it eases off, and the narc's going, and she's all trying to look at my computer, and she's all worried. I'm like, what are you doing? What's the problem? She goes, what's your air? And I'm like, it's fine. There's no problem. I just need to go up. And then she looked at my computer and saw it was okay. And so we both went ahead up, and then we did a bunch of stops on the way up. And then and we're going up fairly quickly, right? Because you can't go up too quick, she'll get the bends. But we're going up fairly quickly. Here comes Craig. He is boogieing. I mean, his bubbles are just leading him up because he ended up going to 208 feet, I think. And so on one tank of air, so his computer is freaking out. So he's coming up rather quickly.
Yeah, all kind of alarms going off.
Yeah. So, and of course, if Rick Iosi is on here listening, he's one of our beta readers, I think, for you guys too. He's loopy. He's been to like 250 feet on a tank of air, or almost 300 feet. And so.
Well, it affects different people at different depths.
Very at different depths and in different ways. So most people get euphoric, and it's like being kind of drunk. They call it the rapture of the deep. For me, I got very paranoid and very tunnel visioned. And when we got back on the boat and we're talking about it later, I said, Cheryl, you didn't get knocked? She goes, no, I didn't get knocked. I said, well, what were you doing? She goes, I just stared straight at my computer the whole time. I said, you didn't get tunnel vision? She goes, I don't know. I just stared straight at my computer the whole time. I think you did. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been a great show, and thank you, Nick, and thank you, Kim, for being on.
Pleasure.
I'd like to thank our sponsors, Down Island Press, Pirate Radio, Cinematic Book Trailers, and of course, tropicalauthors.com. If you're looking for a new read, that's where you need to go. And by all means, pick up one of Ed's books. Start with Trawler Trash and read through the whole series. You'll enjoy it. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you. Bye.
We're still live.